Hi. This week for my Newbery Award winner, I chose Beverly Clearly in her book, Dear Mr. Henshaw. It's illustrated by Paul Ozelinski. This book is about a boy named Lee who's going through a really tough time right now. His parents have just gotten divorced. He's at a new school. His dad took his favorite dog away, and someone keeps stealing his lunch. And one day, the teacher asked them to write to their most favorite famous author. And so Lee chooses Mr. Henshaw, and that's why the book is named this. Lee writes to Mr. Henshaw about, at first, just the interview, about asking them the questions for the assignment. But then Lee starts asking him about other advice, like how to start writing, because that's what he wants to be when he grows up. Mr. Henshaw responds to him, which surprises Lee at first, and tells him that he needs to get a journal or a diary to start, because that's how most writers start. So that's what Lee does. He goes and gets a journal or diary, and then he starts writing in it every day. He writes about how his parents divorced and how he's lonely. He doesn't have any friends. He writes about how someone keeps stealing his lunch and how he's going to find out who it is. He writes about how his dad has moved on and how he heard his dad talking to another kid. And he just writes about all of his problems. Well, one day, Lee hears that there's a young writers contest, and whoever wins gets to go eat with a famous author. Well, Lee thought that maybe it could be Mr. Henshaw, so he wanted to write a story for it. He couldn't think of anything to write. He came up with many ideas, so he just came up with a story about how he went with his dad on a trip one time, and it was his probably most favorite memory with his dad. And so that's what he wrote about. Well, he didn't win, but he got honorable mention, and so he got to go eat with a famous author anyway. It turned out it wasn't Mr. Henshaw, but it was a friend of Mr. Henshaw's, and Lee asked about him, and she said that Mr. Henshaw was a very nice guy, very energetic, very loving, and she also asked Lee what book he wrote for the Young Writers Contest, and he told her, and she said that he was a great writer and that to keep it up, and he was very ecstatic about it. He was so happy when he was walking home. Well, when he got home, he saw that his dad was at the house, and his dad never visits, never calls, never writes anything. So he saw that the dad was at his house, and he got even more happy. Well, the dad came to talk to the mom to see if maybe they could get back together. Well, the mom said no, and the dad leaves at the end of the story. However, Lee is so happy about how his life is going. At the end of the story, he's found a friend. He hasn't figured out who the lunchbox thief is yet, but they're not doing it anymore. And Mr. Henshaw has been writing back to him, and the famous author that he ate lunch with told him he was a good writer. And so he was just so happy at the end of the book. And then his dad told him that he would visit more, which Lee highly doubted, but he was still happy about it. I think this book is good. It shows kids that there's going to be many obstacles throughout your lifetime, but you just need to get past them because the good times are coming too. There's also people along the way who are going to be there for you even though you are in a tough time, like his mom, his new friend, or Mr. Henshaw. It also shows kids that always keep doing what you love. Lee loves to write, and he's getting really good at it. If you love basketball, start playing basketball, and you can be good at that too. This was a really good story. I loved it. The illustrations, there wasn't that many of them. Maybe one every chapter. It did show like Lee writing letters from Mr. Henshaw, how someone kept stealing his lunch. It did show some of the most important things in the illustrations, which helped out the story a lot. I really did like this story, and I can't wait to see what next week says. Thank you.